Alrighty, everybody, what is going on? While we're letting people welcome to the chat, welcome to the chat, welcome to the chat, welcome to the podcast. In today's video breakdown, I am your host, Cypress, with my co-host, Mr. Aquaman. Welcome back to the Wealth 28 Club podcast. Today, we are going to be sitting down with Benedetto, the co-founder and CEO of Folks Finance. So for those of you all who have not heard of what Folks Finance is, they are a leading DeFi protocol on Algorand, managing roughly around $71 million in TVL as of time of recording this podcast. And so today we're going to be unpacking what is happening across DeFi, how Folks Finance is pushing the space forward, and what we can do to stay ahead in this ever-evolving landscape. Aquaman, it's been a while since we've had a call. What's up, brother? How are you?
Man, I'm great. How you doing, brother?
I can't complain, man. I cannot complain. It's been an interesting year so far in 2025, to say the least. Benedetto, how are you?
I'm very good. Thanks, guys, for having me here. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, super excited to have you guys here.
Aquaman, yeah. So I'll just go ahead. I'll let Benedetto have the floor before we start introducing some questions to the podcast today. Benedetto, if you don't mind, brother, just go ahead and explain to the listeners what Folks Finance is, what you guys bring to the space, maybe even talk briefly about how long you've been around, just kind of give the folks listening an introduction.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Italian. I am... just a little bit about me. I'm from south of Italy, went to Milan, did my bachelor engineering in mechanical engineering. Bachelor degree in mechanical engineering. And then I studied management and innovation engineering in UK. And I had one innovative IT course where I met blockchain technology, and I really liked it. And after that, I started to work for a blockchain software house in Italy. And the software house was partner of Algorand. That was 2020. And on my personal time, I was playing with DeFi on Ethereum. So 2020 was the DeFi summer. And I was thinking that DeFi would pick up in every ecosystem. So I was suggesting, guys, we are strategic in Algorand. Why don't we build something on DeFi here? And we did a bit of due diligence. Tinyman was being built as a DEX. So we decided to go for a lending protocol, simply because, the primitive. So DeFi, it's trading, so DEX and lending second, right? So basically, that's how it started. We did the second cohort of the Algorand Europe Accelerator. At the end of that, we started our journey as a proper startup. We raised $3 million in the round was closed in 2022, early 2022. We were able to onboard for the first time in the ecosystem name like Coinbase, Parafai, Jump, OKX, so big names, Borderless was leading the round. And a few months after, that was April 2022, we launched for the first time on Algorand mainnet. And it was right before the Terra Luna crash. So it was not the best timing ever. And at that time, we also had a big competitor that was Algo. So let's say our journey to where we are now wasn't easy at all. So in general, I like to always mention the strategy that we had. That was, we freshly raised some money and we wanted to use them at best. And our way of using it was to keep building the product, to keep improving it. So we switched from being a lending protocol into a DeFi hub that today has lending, swaps, liquid staking, leverage trading, leverage liquid staking. So I believe that these, together with the good work that we did, the good engagement with the community, brought us to where we are now. So as you said, we are the largest up on the chain. That's a little bit.
Yeah, that's nice. There's a lot to unpack there. So you cover what Folks Finance is. Why did you decide to build on Algo out of all, available layer ones back in
Yeah.
the day when I decided to
The
build?
question is more like why the software house decided to be partner of Algorand, because again, we were already building with the chain other products, not only Folks. And but first of all, like the founder and Silvio knew each other, right? Both Sicilians, so it was like also a friendship in that sense. But additionally, like from the very beginning, Algorand was being exceptional compared to the other layer one, especially like the finality, the speed, the low cost of transaction. So simply building a DeFi app on Algorand at that time, where on Ethereum gas fees were extremely expensive, was just making a lot of sense. Then again, the decision of being a lending protocol was purely strategic because a DEX already existed, right? And also, like the name, it's directly connected to the fact that at that time, Ethereum was again very expensive, impossible to use for normal people. So that's why Folks Finance, right? Finance for the ordinary people, right? Everyone can use it, even if you have $10 to deposit.
I like that. I like that. Giving equal access to everybody in the world. And then the last thing to unpack previously what you had said, you discussed and talked about how you kind of came around right in the middle or right before or right thereafter the Terra crash. And you survived that journey, which brings me to this post that you guys made that states, today marks the 3-year mark of Folks Finance being live on mainnet. 3 years of building, 3 years of resilience, 3 years of growth. Now, as we approach a major turning point for the protocol in the next months ahead, Folks' goals remain the same: push boundaries with cross-chain integrations, keep Algorand DeFi strong, and deliver real utility, not just hype, which I really like the way that you guys ended that, by the way, because our content, myself and Aqua, we really fixate on utility-driven assets. So with this recent achievement, how do you compare the atmosphere around DeFi 3 years ago compared to now? Is the ecosystem much more mature? There's a lot of people that are skeptical about utilizing their digital assets in the DeFi ecosystem because we've been programmed over the past consecutive couple of years to protect our digital assets and put them in cold storage and let them sit there and do nothing. And that's the safest way to participate in crypto. When in reality, a lot of people don't understand that actually staking, is a part of providing security to the network, and it's actually a very important part of being a market participant in this digital asset ecosystem, is understanding how to stake to secure the network, understanding how to get and generate digital passive income with these, utility driven assets. So just to put that question in a nutshell, how do you see the environment today compared to 3 years ago? Has it improved? What's the landscape look like from your end?
I think you mentioned two things that are very important, but I don't know how much the audience is aware of the first one. And I feel that over time, the part of being participants, for example, with the stake, you can be participants in things in different way. In DeFi, mostly like you can be participants also participating in governance, right? I feel that over time this is reducing, and the second part is taking more and more importance. That is the yield, right? Because in my opinion is more related to the fact that as things gets more secure over time, and let's say for example, if you tend to use a DeFi protocol and this DeFi protocol is being secure for 2 years, the third year you are going to be more let's say like comfortable to put more money in it, because for the previous 2 years you have been using it and nothing happened, right? But this is also kind of the law of the smart contract, that the more they stay running without hack and the more they are kind of secure, because like someone tried to break them for 2 years, why it should happen the third year rather than before, right? So I think it's interesting how it's evolving. And I can tell you that us, from the perspective of a team who builds DeFi, and also myself, like I network a lot. I go to many conferences all over the world. And a very important thing that is being said all the time is like deliver the best product in the easiest way, really the easiest, and the users want yield. So in my opinion, the industry is evolving towards something that has to be as easy as possible to use and as better as gets to have a secure yield. Then the word secure has to exist. So if then we want to think about the Algorand ecosystem specifically, we had this recent upgrade of the consensus. It's obviously getting the community to be all together, participating, securing the network. This is, I think, like it's a very beautiful but localized narrative a bit. If we think globally, I think, for example, lending protocol are seen more and more as a saving account, right? So like people, their USDC there, they make a much better yield of what they would get in their bank, and who cares anymore, right? Like it's safe.
I like that.
It's easy.
So you just mentioned, normal, average, everyday people participating in DeFi through stablecoin yield generation, and that is available on the platform like Folks Finance. Do you see, and I'll let Aqua ask a security question after this because you mentioned security, but do you see not just your average retail investor participating in DeFi? Do you see a future in the near or long term where financial institutions are heavily participating in DeFi, whether it's through staking to secure networks, whether it's through lending, borrowing, being liquidity providers to a certain extent? Do you see financial institutions onboarding into this space? We hear the term institutions are coming all the time, and people get very impatient, which is kind of irrational because financial institutions have a lot more obligations, whether it be risk management, security measures, KYC, AML, stuff of that nature, security, custody, all these things that they have to implement to be comfortable onboarding to the space that the normal person doesn't really understand, which is why this is taking time. But do you see a future where financial institutions are using, Algorand, DeFi to generate passive income alongside retail-based not retail-based strategies, but in an institutional way, lending, borrowing, staking, providing liquidity, just like retail investors can?
Yes. Okay. Let me be a little bit critic here. Okay. I was like a few days ago on a dinner talking. I'm very curious about this part myself, and I really want folks to go towards this direction. So myself, I'm being on the ground, trying to understand what's happening, right? And I want to tell you a little bit more. When I started Folks, I was very bullish on this, but it was 3 years ago, and I started to talk with the banks in Europe, and I was like receiving so many slap in the face, like this is bullshit, like they would look at me and they're like, who is this kid? What he wants? Like, he not understand our language, we not understand what is he's saying, like you would say like something like TVL, and it's like, another language. Anyway, so now I tell you, like this year, I'm doing a comeback to what I was doing 3 years ago. And it's because I have this feeling that things are now moving differently. And to be honest, it's not because the regulation per se are changing. I think this is an effect of the fact that there are more and more money on chain. And this means that the other guys, they are losing money and they are losing customers. So I think that because now there is an understanding, our customers are going towards DeFi, so we need to make sure that regulation adapts so that we can get them back in some way, right? I see it more this way rather than institutions are friendly because now regulations are changing. I think it's chasing the beautiful chick in the club, right? So like it's the money in a sense. Like let's
Yeah,
go.
they're changing their perspective,
Yeah,
which was previously a little bit more hesitant to involve themselves in DeFi. Now they're seeing, in a sense, based off the research that I've done, it's almost as if the institutions 4 or 5, even 3 years ago, kind of were like, crypto is a scam. It's not really that important. And now all of a sudden that you have large participants like BlackRock, Franklin
I'll
Templeton.
tell you why.
uh,
Like you just can look at the amount of stable coin on chain like 3 years ago and now. I was just looking at some report, and it's like 3 times more. It's a lot more, and obviously it's gonna grow, right? So this is the money they are interested in it. Plus, um, a lot of their directly interested assets, which is not Bitcoin or Ethereum or the ETF, but the RWA that are being tokenized, they're going also on chain. So this is specifically their market, right? So of course they are going to be in. Then the second part of your question is like how this will happen. Let's say, in my opinion, let's say institution will be interested to work with us if we adapt to them as well. It can't be unilateral thing. I really wouldn't imagine I don't know any TradFi bank going and depositing in Fox Finance or any other lending protocol, simply because they have a very strong law on knowing the counterparty, with which money they are interacting with. So it's very hard as it is today. So I'll tell you, like I think even if a DeFi product is built on some smart contract and is decentralized, in order to be able, at least today and for the next few years, to work directly with an institution, a financial institution, it needs to be all licensed and all compliant. So it means users need to be KYC'd, AML, which, to be honest, I don't see it as the most evil part of the work. Honestly, like building a complex smart contract is much more complicated than adding a KYC layer. Then on the other side, we have the DeFi community who is like, no, we want to be permissionless. We don't want KYC, right? We want have our privacy. Fine. I think that, and we can see that the tooling to do this part, so these entering in DeFi in a compliant way, are going to be more and more protecting towards privacy. There are new chains that are fully built for this, right? So I think it's going to change, and we are going to have ecosystem that are built on purpose to merge those two worlds. And to be honest, I'm not against it. Like I don't think it's something too bad to prevent to interact with terrorist money. You know, like it's fair.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Aqua.
Yeah, now I have a question as far as like the security, and just so that everyone that's listening, they can understand like how secure it is to use Folks Finance. What type of security do you guys have implemented into the protocol, and how does it compare to like other protocols? Because I've heard of, I'm not going to name any names, but I've heard of other protocols being hacked, but I don't think I've ever heard that about Folks Finance at all. So I'm curious to know what type of security measures you guys are taking over there.
And I hope you never heard it, because this is going to be my heart attack. No, I'm joking. But so we really have a team that has, I don't know if you have the same in English, but in Italian we say the head on the shoulder. So we feel the weight of it, right? Like, and we sustain it. So we are very towards security, we are very wise since the very beginning. I remember when we did the version 1 of Folks, we did like 3 audits before going on mainnet. And version 2, the same. Like any tool that we did at least 2 audits. And on top of that, we always had an Immunifi bug bounty. For those who doesn't know what is this, so Immunifi is a platform that connects white hats, and basically you can pull up bounties where you are saying to the Immunifi hacker community that if you are able to find a bug, you report it and we pay you for that. So this is very common in the DeFi space, and we were always following like the best in class standards for this. I remember once there was an auditor that asked me like, which type of monitoring you do. We have built some tool for monitoring lending protocol. We would like to show you. Very big name as auditor. And my CTO said, okay, let's do the call. Like they wanted to see how we monitor ourselves. At the end of the call, when we showed our dashboard, how we monitor the smart contract and what security alarms we have and everything, they said, okay, guys, you don't need our tool. You built something better. And they were very surprised that we care about it so much.
So you outbuilt the auditor. You built a more secure infrastructure on folks' finance than the auditor could comprehend.
Yeah, it's a dashboard for monitoring that everything is okay or that there is some
That's pretty cool.
happening. Yeah, and this is something that a user can't see, because obviously like those things also it's secure to have private, right? And however, you can feel, or because you said I never heard of folks being hacked, then there is reasons behind that. It's not luck, right? Like I always remember I'm a fisherman, and my instructor once said to me, the people who says that you are lucky to take a big fish, they don't know that the fish didn't come to your bed, but you wake up at 5 a.m. It was cold. You wear your wetsuit and you went to fish in the middle of the ocean, right? So it's not luck. You did something for it. So I think that you need to work in order to properly in order to avoid those type of problems.
Yeah.
Say that, like, to continue on just answering your question fully. Now, there is a new method of doing audits that we are adopting, and we like it very much. So we use this firstly for X-Chain, the cross-chain lending protocol, where we did a private audit first, the standard that we used to do before. And later on, we did this Immunifi public bounty competition. So basically, meanwhile you are in testnet, you pull up a bounty for a month, and you have like 600 hackers trying to find as many bugs as they can and as fast as possible, because they are competing with each other. So this is extremely powerful, because usually when you're doing a standard audit, you have 2 engineers, maybe, depends, that they are working in parallel to see if they find bugs. Here you have like a lot more, so the results are much better. And we use it the same for Algo. It was the first in its kind on this kind of audits that was done on Algorand. I think it's still the only one. So this lets you understand how much we always care, and we want to push forward towards having secure products.
That's amazing. I love that. That makes me even more comfy putting my hard-earned assets, on folks' finance for sure. I had another question. And you could take it back, Cypress, but it was basically a question about what you were talking about before we dived into the security and the institutions, but it was about using the lending protocol as a savings account, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that we preach inside the World 28 Club, to basically have like yield on yield opportunities. As your money's sitting idle before it's getting used, you're earning yield. I had a question about your platform though itself, because I don't think you guys offer a debit card like a Visa card or a MasterCard just yet, right?
It's coming.
It's coming. Okay, that's amazing to hear, because that's going to be a one-stop shop then once that comes, to where now I can turn that USDC, put it right onto my Visa card, and go make a purchase with it. So yeah, awesome. What's like the timeline, if you can speak on that, when that's coming down the line?
So we are building our mobile app, which is right now in our beta testing. So the team is testing it now. I think later on we will have an alpha testing just for our best community, and later on we will allow the public download. So it's gonna take a few more months, because like mobile development is much slower than web development. And I'll give you a nice spoiler here. I think you will like this. So I'll go even next level, Degen, because our debit card is going to connect to the lending protocol. So instead than selling your crypto to top up, you are actually collateralizing in order to top up. So basically, like, you don't need to spend your crypto, but you can collateralize those and borrow against it, and underneath they are converted into fiat. So there will be a bit of friction with the regions at the beginning, but that's how we are going for it. So it's not just the standard crypto debit card.
Dang, that's going to be amazing. I can't wait for that to come then. That's really cool.
I don't think I've ever said this in a call, so I think it's fine. It's coming. So
that's awesome. That's a great announcement. I want to kind of go back to what Aqua said about earning passive rewards on stablecoins, because I'm a big advocate of mitigating my risk exposure in the DeFi ecosystem, but still participating. So in order to do that, I've created a kind of a stable coin strategy where I try to fixate diversifying my portfolio into stable coins that are regulated, and then utilizing them on protocols that are fast, efficient, and relatively trustworthy. And so I see here, the Algorand Foundation posted this the other day, breaking MICA compliant stablecoins. EURQ and USDQ are coming to Algorand, powered by Quantos. And then it says underneath of that trading pairs will be available on Folks Finance. And so for my portfolio risk, tolerance, this fits into my category of what I'd be willing to expose myself to. So I have this question here, because you'll soon be offering these MICA compliant stablecoins on your platform. Um, can you just kind of give a little bit of an insight to the audience on how these regulated assets can be put to work on Folks Finance? Can they be utilized? Are they going to be able to be utilized in liquidity pools, lending, borrowing, so on and so forth? And then, do you see this as kind of like a positive signal or like a green light for users who are concerned about regulation in DeFi, albeit this doesn't mean that DeFi is regulated by any means, but do you kind of see this as a positive step towards a more regulatory compliant DeFi ecosystem, where if, kind of put two and two together, if you have regulated digital assets operating on these protocols, it kind of means that regulators are leaning more so towards making this all possible over time, if that's making sense?
Yes, it does. And then regulation for DeFi, it's a little bit more gray than how it is for centralized exchange, and it's normal. We all want regulation for centralized exchange because those are centralized, so they must have regulation. But DeFi is a little bit different, not a little bit, a lot, because it's regulated from the contract in a sense. So it's not that we can manage the assets of the users, right? So these are on the smart contract, and the user is accepting to allow the smart contract to do what they are planned for, and everyone can review what they are planned for, right? So yes and no, in the sense that, okay, they are coming on chain. It's good that they can be integrated in DeFi. It's fantastic, but the main the main difference is that the regulation for the exchange is a must, and that's why exists MICA compliant stablecoins. They are for the exchange to have them, but for DeFi, it's right now it's separated because there is no regulation talking about it.
Okay, so it's kind of a good thing, but it's also still a gray area, right?
Yeah.
To put it in a nutshell. Yeah, I see it the same way. And I personally don't think that, firm DeFi regulations are going to be implemented. I actually listening to regulators on panel discussions from, Coinbase or the likes of EY or, members from EY just talking and discussing about regulations is they don't see it coming truly into fruition specifically for DeFi for another 2 to 3 years. The attention's more so on the digital assets themselves and what banks can do and how they can play a role in this ecosystem, and then they'll get to other parts and other niches of this digital asset ecosystem later on down the road. Not that they're not being discussed; they're still being talked about, but it's not really like the center focus right now for regulators. Still obvious, of course, a major talking point on their behalf, but there's other things that need to be put firmly into place first. So on April 2nd, this was another post that I had found that I really enjoyed just because it shows growth, it shows stability in the DeFi ecosystem, and I don't think that that's what a lot of people understand. Like I had mentioned, people are still skeptical about starting to diversify a portion of their portfolio into DeFi so they can start generating passive income. In the midst of this market during this downturn that we saw started at the end of last year, but particularly this month, April 2nd, right when Trump announced his tariff implications, we saw a massive downturn in the market. Yet here, Chain Broker had posted this on the same exact day that actually Folks Finance was a top mover in the DeFi ecosystem with a 138% increase. So, do you believe in market downturns, or can you kind of speak on this, how DeFi could be a positive way for investors? Obviously, of course, not financial advice, but just from your perspective, investors to kind of diversify their portfolios during market downturns, i.e., whether it's through earning passive rewards on stablecoins, earning passive rewards on Algorand. What's your kind of take on that, considering the
You're
most.
talking to someone who has everything yielding on chain. So maybe I'm not the right person for explaining diversification here, because I mean, it's if I wouldn't do it, who should? But to be honest, like I mean, I was lucky to never be involved in a hack. I never lost money in a fraud. I mean, I don't know if I'm attracting bad luck to me right now, or maybe it wasn't luck, it was just the right due diligence. But to be honest, I know more people who lost money in a centralized exchange rather than a DeFi app. But I did lose a lot of money on meme coin. I was rugged a lot of time, but this was my personal bet. I knew I was about to do it, right? So it's fine. No, jokes aside, I honestly think that once you start to yield on DeFi and you see the profit, it's really a no-brainer for me. It's not hard to use anymore. Like once you set up your way to on-off ramp, I do it personally very quick. Like if I need more, let's say like if I'm running out of cash, I just use my collateral on Folks, which is already there and it's yielding. I borrow against it. I top up my card. I move it to the exchange, top up my card, and that's it. It's like taking me honestly 2 minutes. So I don't see why people shouldn't use it really. Like it's just like educating them, and you guys are the one who does this as well. So
Yeah, I think that I think people don't really truly understand that like yield generation in traditional finance already exists, except it kind of excludes the middle and lower class because the yields are so small. You can't really actually see a decent return in a savings account that a bank offers unless you have millions of dollars, right? And so DeFi kind
in
of levels.
business, I will do the same. Like I don't have millions of dollars. at
Yeah.
least yet. I hope I will, but if I would have, then I would differentiate more, right? Also because there are special terms for richer people also in TradFi, right? So the beauty of DeFi is that for everyone is the same, and it's actually more convenient for who is smaller in that sense.
Yeah, I think too, something that I've seen, having created the Wealth 28 Club with Mr. Aquaman, and just seeing the users and the rhetoric on Twitter, it's like people in more upbeat jurisdictions, whether it be the United States or Canada, they're the ones that are a little bit more skeptical on DeFi and aren't willing to use it because the financial infrastructure in the United States it operates relatively well. I mean, obviously, of course, it could due to some, could have some improvements, but people in the United States are comfortable with their finances. However, if you go to lower income earning areas like, Africa, as an example, we have a member in the Wealth 28 Club that has told myself and Aqua, he has family members in Africa, and he makes, because he's living here in the United States, he makes US dollars, and he has a couple $1,000s in a DeFi portfolio earning yield, and he sends the yield that he's making in US dollars to his family in Africa, and it pays them dividends. And so now, instead of paying his family in Africa with his hard earning money and his paychecks, he's paying them with yield generation through DeFi, and literally freeing his family from financial slavery in the area in Africa that he's from. And it's mind blowing, and he's doing that all through crypto. And so that's why I'm such a firm advocate of letting people know that this really truly does level the playing field, and people in the lowest income earning area with a mobile device and internet connection, and the same people in the most expensive part in New York City and, I don't know, United States, with the mobile phone and the internet connection, have the same equal access to a platform like Folks Finance, or to a platform that offers yield generation on stablecoins. And this is massive, and people are sleeping on this because they're scared, and they're still living in the 2022 mindset. And it's time to change. It's time to understand that this is a digital transformation, that DeFi will play a major role. So just like you were just discussing, Benedito, that you can earn yield while you're just sitting there, and then go and spend that yield and not have to, that's all coming, and that's going to be the normal. It might not be in the next year, but in the next 5 to 10 years, I can say that 100% confidence, more people will understand the power that this gives to the normal everyday average person. Like you said, you might not have millions of dollars. You don't need millions of dollars. You can start earning yield on $5. Why would you not want to do that? The banks are doing it, and they've been doing it behind your back. I mean, not behind your back, they make it public, but they've been doing it for years. And now DeFi levels that playing field. That's my spiel.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. And honestly, I would add, I don't know how it's outside of Europe, but usually you pay to have your account more than you earn in your bank. So, for me, it's really no-brainer.
Yeah. What's also cool about Folks Finance that other protocols don't have is the fact that you can also get a precious metal like digital gold and digital silver working for you as well, which is absolutely amazing. And you guys basically partnered up, or you guys did a deal with Meld Gold, right? And Meld Gold is only on the XRPL and Algorand. Can you speak on that relationship and how that all came about? And
Yeah.
because
I knew him for a long time, and I mean, for us, like, we love those type of assets. Again, like, it's not just Bitcoin, Algo, Ethereum. It's about bringing commodities and real world assets on chain, and then you will appreciate the benefit of DeFi, because if I invest in commodities in another platform, I can't use them as a collateral to borrow against it. With Folks, I can, right? So it's really at this time that you see the power of the technology as enabling secondary markets that, in TradFi you can't simply.
that's amazing.
We were, by the way, we were the first listing gold and silver as on a lending protocol ever. So we were first
ever out of all chains then, right?
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, that's super amazing. Yeah, I really touched on that inside the Wealth 28 Club when I first came across the protocol itself, because not every protocol can say that they have a digital gold option to earn yield or to borrow against or to lend out. So yeah, it's really amazing. And the fact that you guys were first speaks loudly. So chalk that up on the resume as well, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So, discussing and talking about gold and silver on this, I watched a video that you had posted the other day, Benedito, on X, where you had mentioned that you guys are preparing for a launch of a token soon. So could you, speak to the audience on what led you to make that decision after having been around for 3 years to finally do that now? And then kind of discuss and talk about what benefits launching a token brings to Folks Finance and its users, added liquidity in DeFi, new yield generation opportunities. What was your decision um, to launch a token, and how can users benefit from it that use Folks Finance?
So the token was always, first of all, designed to exist in Folks, because obviously being DeFi, then you need to decentralize the governance, and the most obvious, but maybe the less interesting for many people is the governance, because again, I say like we were monitoring how DeFi governance participation is decreasing over time, but nevertheless, it's important to decentralize. And so the main, let's the most important underneath is to decentralize the governance, and that's why it has always existed. Then it's 3 years that we are on mainnet and we didn't launch a token. I think it's very rare. If not, I don't know any other DeFi protocol that has waited so much. And I do like to say that if we waited, it's because we want to do it well. So obviously, like, the token is going to be also of the team. And my question for the audience is like, don't you think that we want the token as well? So because sometimes I receive a lot of complaint or FUD, it's why you're not launching the token, what you're waiting, I'm waiting because I want to do it sound. Launching a token is an extremely complex matter. It's not a meme coin. It's not for fun. So it's not that you are doing it and then let's see. Launching a token, it involves a lot of dynamics. We want to give to the token as many utilities as possible so that users are actually using it and they want to use it, right? Like, I need to have innovation there. When we do something, we always look at, okay, what worked, what didn't work, let's do at the best way we can, right? So we will give in-app use that will be related to having discounts over the different fees, but as well being able to pay certain fees with the token. And there will be probably perks. Now, take it everything as not written on the stone, right? We still finalizing those. But yes, also having perks in the mobile app and in the web app. So yeah, it's around this. And it's not just about the utilities, it's about the tokenomics, it's the vestings and the way you launch. It's very complicated myself. I'm learning a lot. And this is a field that average users, not because of they don't have the brain to do it. Yes, we all have the brain to learn about it. It's just there are a lot of information that are hidden behind the scene that people may not know, so they are critical towards it, right? And I don't want to launch the token and being a failure. I want to launch Folks and being a success, to be a success for the community, for the team, and for everyone else, right? So I really want Folks because I also waited so long to be important in its launch and in its path.
I think the key takeaway from what you said that I can gather is, and this over the course of this conversation, is that you're patient, you're willing to wait, and you have a long-term horizon and trajectory for not only what you're doing and building and integrating into folks finance, but for folks finance itself. The mere fact that you discussed and talked about surviving an extreme market downturn, and even during this most recent market downturn, seeing that you all are outperforming other protocols, speaks loudly, speaks volumes of what you all are doing, and the decisions that you're making. Because you just mentioned, some people they like to do this on the internet and base their opinions off of what you guys are doing behind the scenes, but they don't see all the behind the scenes work. And so that just shows longevity on your behalf, and that your focus isn't on these quick fix dopamine hits, chasing market, sentiment and hype, and just really focusing, boiling down, locking in on the long term horizon on how you guys can benefit your users, stay in this game as a top mover, and that, like I said, speaks loudly. Akko, you have anything?
Yeah. So, I got a few just, basic questions for those that are tapping in right now that may hold Algorand, and they're, it's probably just, chilling in their cold storage wallet, not doing much. If you can speak to those listeners right now, what makes Folks Finance stand out for Algorand holders to do more with their tokens on the protocol?
Well, I think first of all, if you are doing staking and you want to have the liquid version of your token, to be honest, I think Folks is the best. Not because it's Folks, but because it's the most audited. We did it with the mechanism that is very fluid. You can go on leverage if you want. You can use ultra stake, which, by the way, ultra stake is leverage, but it's not related to the price volatility because it uses Algo as collateral to borrow Algo and then commit again. So it's a way also to increase the yields compared to the standard stake if you want to do it anywhere else or even in your cold wallet. But in general, I think that Folks has been a cornerstone for the history of Algorand DeFi. And if you try out and you start to see how you can benefit from the different tools that we do, I think it's going to be your own choice. But I don't think that I never heard very bad comments about Folks. If there were, we always suggested them. And I love critics. So if there is anyone saying that Fox is not good to use, please report to us and we will try to make it better. But
Yeah. I've never heard that. Actually, I've never heard that in my entire crypto career. And I feel like once you start using different, platforms and different protocols, when you come across Folks Finance, just the way it works, just like the simplicity and the smoothness of connecting your wallet, entering the pool, entering a staking position, it's very, very smooth compared to other protocols that may have just like a different look to the eye, at least for me anyways. And maybe there's like a tad bit of a lag when there's connecting the wallet. I always said right when I came across Folks Finance, it was one of the smoothest protocols I've ever come across, and well put together. So I feel like everything that you just explained about yourself and just how you guys are taking your time with the token just speaks loudly how you guys took your time building such an amazing protocol as well. And the other cool thing too is that you guys offer liquid staking, right? Which liquid staking is so amazing for those of you that don't know. You basically have an option to double dip, right? So with your guys' liquid staking, how does Folks Finance offer different flexibilities that other platforms may not offer when it comes to liquid staking?
Yeah, so first of all, Algo is, as I said, it's audited in an Immunifi public bug bounty competition, and none of the other option has something like this. I think even Rate is only audited with a private audit. So I really think that with smart contracts, this is the most secure option. And besides that, Algo is listed not only in Folks. Obviously on Folks you can have it as a collateral, so you can borrow against it. So you can use it to borrow USDC, you can borrow more Algo and loop it again, so to increase your yield. You can use Ultra Stake, which is, I don't know how much is the rate right now, but it can be very, very profitable. Personally, I was doing some loops at 20% APR, so I was very, very good yield. And yeah, it's also Algo is being integrated in other apps. You can trade it. I think it's already integrated in other NFT marketplace. Yeah, that's it. Like it's
Yeah, I'll
also,
speak on.
yeah,
Go
just
ahead,
like
Aqua.
the work is an interest bearing token. So you receive you deposit Algo and you receive a counterpart of Algo, which looks smaller just because it's one Algo is worth more than one Algo, and your interests are accrued over time on the Algo that you hold.
Yeah, I'll speak on something that Aqua said about the UI, the user interface, because that's something that I also like to incorporate in my DeFi portfolio. Because, and this is again not financial advice, this is just something I incorporate. I take a very laid back DeFi approach where I like to set and forget. I don't like to really be active because I'm a day trader, so I'm always constantly involved in scalp positions in the market, and I'm always managing my leverage portfolio. I don't really like to have a high-paced, high-frequency liquidity provider and DeFi kind of mentality. I like to just set things and forget. And so I use Exodus Wallet's integration with Parrot Wallet and Folks Finance, and I just stake my algo. And I think that's like the easiest way to just earn passive rewards on algo, because I believe in the longevity of Algorand, and I'd rather be sitting there collecting yield and then compounding that yield over the next 5 years rather than just having it sit dormant in my cold storage wallet doing absolutely nothing. And I don't have all my algo sitting on, Folks Finance staking. I have a portion of my algo that I'm willing to risk to DeFi, generating me yield. And then the other portion of my Algorand I have in my cold storage wallet, the algo that I don't want to touch. And so I think diversification into the DeFi ecosystem to some extent, even if it's with small micro amounts, to test and start to learn these platforms, these protocols, and what they can do for you in terms of generating passive income, and securing the network, and then just being a part of this evolution is so it's powerful and it's life changing. Honestly, to have an awakening that the power of the banks is now being put back in the hands of the people through mobile devices and internet connections is pretty crazy time to be alive. Aqua, that's all that I had in terms of my questions for today. I just wanted to take a second and give the shout out. If you guys want to keep the conversation going, we've been on for almost an hour now. I just wanted to take a second, give a shout out to everybody, tell everybody where they can find Folks Finance's info, X profiles, Benedito's X, so on and so forth, if they have any further questions outside of this call. Shout out to all 800 listeners. We do appreciate you guys for tapping in this Friday. I know that myself and Aqua, we've had a lot of personal things going on the beginning half of this year. So second half of this year, we're going to try to be more active on the Friday podcasts. Having special guests on like Benedito, discussing and talking about different protocols, different platforms in the DeFi ecosystem. This was a great call with Benedito. So thank you, brother, for coming on with us today. So for those of you guys, just real quick, this is Folks Finance's homepage. All right. It is folks.finance. You guys can go check that out. And there's a direct link on their X profile. So if we head over here, we can tap into their X profile so you guys can see the handle. It is at Folks Finance. They have a gold check and they have 77,000 followers at time of recording this. So make sure that you guys are following the right account. You can, directly access all their links here through their X profile. And then you have Benedito's X profile right here as well. You guys go give him a follow. Let me share this tab just so that way you guys know where to go. If you have any questions, he's got his message tab open. I'm sure that he gets swarmed with messages and questions as well, but I'm sure that they'll get back to you. Do you guys have a support team by any chance that answers questions for users if they have anything, or is that like a Discord thing?
We have Discord, Telegram, and I mean, even if you write a comment on X, my team always reply. We take care of any type of customer support everywhere. But the best way, I would say, it's Discord and Telegram, because like there are always my team monitoring there.
That's really good to know.
Feel free to message me if something is not being fixed for you from someone.
Yeah, that's really good to know, just because of the past 2 to 3 years that I've been involved in DeFi. When you're getting onto a protocol and you don't really know what you're doing, if there's a community that's out there for you to ask questions, that's great. So Discord, Telegram, and then you heard them straight there. Just comment on the platform itself, and they'll get back to you.
Check the Folks Academy. We have plenty of tutorials on how to use Folks, even about crypto in general and DeFi. So it's a good place to learn as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. Aqua, did you have anything else for the listeners today?
Yeah, I would just to wrap it up, my biggest message, this entire 2025 so far is you got to be in crypto for a lifetime. And, I feel like protocols like Folks Finance, you guys are, part of that relationship, being in crypto for a lifetime and so many years to come after that. Can you speak to that a little bit to our listeners? Because you, at the end of the day, you're the CEO of Folks Finance. We're just some crypto traders, and we share our opinion, but I feel like it's getting more and more louder from people like yourself and just other developers and other leaders from other blockchains about getting your digital assets to work, instead of just collecting dust and treating your digital asset like a stock. You know what I mean? But yeah, crypto for a lifetime, relationships like you guys are going to be able to help grow our portfolios. So yeah, if you wanted to speak to that just lastly, and then we could wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you for that. I really think that it's important if, when you join a protocol, when you start to move your assets from an exchange to a DeFi protocol, it's not just about the yield even, but you enter a community and you feel part of it. You are in a place where your voice is heard. And at least with Folks, there is no message that is being unread or unanswered. So it's a very big change of paradigm, right? Like we switched from the banks, where if you want to solve something, it's extremely complex, then to the exchange for the centralized exchange for crypto part. That is, it's already a little bit better maybe, but still very risky in my opinion. I personally don't hold assets there. And then you have the DeFi part that is like you are part of the product. So I really suggest to think about it this way. Then the yield is a very good addition to it, but being part of what you are using is the best, to be honest.
Yeah, nah, that's super amazing.
I agree. You couldn't have said it better.
Yeah, well, Benedito, I really appreciate you, coming up here with us and chatting some DeFi and talking about the protocol. I'm super thankful to have you guys here today. So, maybe we can run it back maybe later on this year once you guys add some new additions and, maybe have a second chat. But thank you so much for coming up here today.
Thank you so much for having me here, guys. It was super fun. I really hope to be back anytime you want me. And I wish a wealthy future to everyone here. And I hope that Folks Finance can be a tool for them.
For sure. Yeah. So everybody, thank you guys for listening in. If anybody is interested in reaching out to Folks Finance, you guys now know where to find them. If anybody's interested in tapping into our Wealth 28 Club DeFi University, where myself and Aqua and other mentors in the CYPRX community have shown you all step by step how we are getting our digital assets working for us on platforms and protocols like Folks Finance, and tap in with us in the Wealth 28 Club. You don't have to go out there and risk your hard-earned digital assets to start learning and educating yourself in the now, in the moment. invest. I cannot stress enough that now is the time to start to learn how to generate yield, even if you aren't physically in the action of doing it. Just learning the educational process, going through the course material, and learning how, when you're comfortable, to start getting your digital assets working for you is absolutely powerful, and something that I firmly believe everybody should be doing behind the scenes right now. So many blessings to you guys. Benedetto, thank you so much for tapping in. Aqua, as always, brother. And with that being said, that's it for today. We'll see you guys in the next call.
Peace.
Thank you, guys. Have fun.
Later.